Tony Kushner's Angels in America is a sweeping, two-part epic that explores the political, spiritual, and emotional landscape of America in the 1980s through the lens of the AIDS crisis, gay identity, and Reagan-era conservatism. Subtitled A Gay Fantasia on National Themes, the work comprises two plays. Part 1. Millennium Approaches, 1991. Part 2. Perestroika, 1992. With a blend of naturalistic drama, magical realism, and political allegory, Angels in America examines themes of illness and death, love and betrayal, faith and doubt, and change and continuity. The play is widely considered one of the most significant theatrical works of the 20th century and has won multiple accolades, including the Pulitzer Prize for Drama and Tony Awards. Part 1. Millennium Approaches. The story is set in New York City in the mid-1980s, during the height of the AIDS epidemic and the Reagan administration. 1. Pryor and Lewis. Pryor Walter, a witty and artistic gay man, reveals to his lover Louis Ironson that he has AIDS. Lewis, overwhelmed by fear, guilt, and emotional weakness, eventually abandons Pryor. Pryor's illness worsens, and he begins to experience hallucinations, including visitations from his ancestors and a mysterious angel who declares him a prophet. 2. Joe and Harper. Joe Pitt is a deeply closeted Mormon and a legal clerk for Roy Cohn, a powerful conservative lawyer. Joe's wife, Harper, suffers from Valium-induced hallucinations and increasing emotional instability due to their sexless marriage. Roy offers Joe a promotion that would require relocating to Washington, D.C., but Harper resists. Joe, meanwhile, struggles with his suppressed homosexuality and begins to form a romantic connection with Lewis after meeting him in a park. 3. Roy Cohn and Ethel Rosenberg. Roy Cohn is a fictionalized version of the real-life lawyer who helped prosecute the Rosenbergs and was known for his closeted homosexuality. When he is diagnosed with AIDS, he refuses to acknowledge it and insists he has liver cancer to maintain his public persona. He is haunted by the ghost of Ethel Rosenberg, whom he helped execute on espionage charges. Roy manipulates his protégé Joe and uses his influence to secure illegal supplies of AZT, the only available AIDS treatment at the time. Part 2. Perestroika. 1. Pryor's journey. Pryor's illness worsens. He continues to receive visits from the angel, who tells him that God has abandoned heaven and that Pryor has been chosen as a prophet to advocate stasis, stopping human progress to halt the chaos God detests. Pryor refuses this mission, instead choosing life, movement, and struggle. With help from his friend Belize, a black, gay nurse and former drag queen, Pryor sneaks into Roy's hospital room to obtain AZT. Pryor also goes to heaven in a dream, vision, where he debates with the angels and chooses to return to Earth. 2. Joe, Harper, and Lewis. Joe continues his relationship with Lewis, but it deteriorates when Lewis realizes Joe is a Republican lawyer who clerked for Roy Cohn. They fight over politics, ethics, and personal responsibility. Joe remains conflicted about his identity and loyalties. Harper, increasingly lucid, decides to leave Joe. In a dream-like sequence, she travels to Antarctica, symbolizing her journey toward freedom and clarity. 3. Roy's downfall. Roy is disbarred and becomes delirious in the hospital. He is tormented by Ethel Rosenberg, who reads him the Kaddish, Jewish mourning prayer, upon his death, a bitter irony, as he never admitted wrongdoing. Belize, his nurse, is disgusted by Roy but shows compassion by caring for him and ensuring his AZT goes to those in need. Final scene. Epilogue in 1990. The play ends with a coda set in 1990. Pryor, Lewis, Belize, and Hannah Pitt, Joe's mother, who has become Pryor's friend and ally, gather near the Bethesda fountain in Central Park. Pryor breaks the fourth wall, addressing the audience directly. He declares that despite death and suffering, life continues. The world only spins forward. He speaks of hope, perseverance, and a belief in change and progress, honoring those lost to AIDS and those still fighting. Character analysis. Prior Walter. Prior is the emotional and spiritual center of the play. His journey from illness and abandonment to resistance and reclamation of identity mirrors the struggle of the LGBTQ+ community during the AIDS crisis. Despite facing death, Prior chooses life, asserting agency over his fate. His hallucinations and angelic visitations blur the line between madness and prophecy, making him both a literal and symbolic survivor. Prior's final monologue is a defiant affirmation of hope in the face of despair. Lewis Ironson. Lewis is a deeply flawed character, whose neurotic intellectualism masks emotional cowardice. He abandons Prior out of fear, then engages in a romance with Jo that is equally self-serving. Yet Lewis is also representative of liberal guilt, a man who cares about justice and theory but struggles with the demands of real human connection. His moral ambiguity makes him both frustrating and painfully human. Jo Pitt. Jo embodies the tragic cost of repression and religious rigidity. His Mormon faith and political conservatism are at odds with his sexuality, leading him to hurt both Harper and himself. His failure to fully embrace his identity leaves him adrift. Jo's political and emotional passivity contrasts with the activism and vitality of characters like Prior and Belize, highlighting the dangers of self-denial and complicity. Harper Pitt. Harper is a tragicomic figure whose hallucinations often contain profound insight. Her Valium-fueled visions take her to Antarctica and into the spiritual realm. Through her emotional awakening, she moves from passivity to independence. By the end of the play, Harper chooses freedom over illusion, making her arc one of the most quietly triumphant. Roy Cohn. Roy is a compelling antagonist, brilliant, ruthless, and deeply self-loathing. As a closeted gay man who attacks other gay people and supports Reaganite policies, he represents the internalized homophobia and moral bankruptcy of American power structures. His decline and death strip away his bravado. His interactions with Ethel Rosenberg reveal a tormented soul, and yet he never repents. He dies as he lived, angry, manipulative, and clinging to control. Belize. Belize is the moral conscience of the play. A nurse, former drag queen, and unapologetically gay black man, he combines compassion with fierce clarity. He tends to Roy despite despising him and supports Prior without judgment. Belize's insight into politics, race, and the gay community brings crucial intersectionality to the play's themes. His presence grounds the fantastical elements in lived experience. Themes. 1. AIDS and mortality. AIDS is the physical and emotional catalyst of the play. It reveals fear, shame, love, and courage. The disease is not just a medical condition but a societal crisis, exposing prejudice, political failure, and the limits of compassion. Through Prior's defiance and Roy's denial, Kushner explores how different people confront death. The play honors those who suffered while also envisioning a future beyond despair. 2. Identity and sexuality. Kushner examines queer identity in a hostile environment. Characters like Prior and Belize live openly, while Jo and Roy repress their desires. The tension between visibility and erasure underscores the political urgency of the play. Sexuality is never isolated, it intersects with religion, politics, race, and family, complicating the characters' choices and consequences. 3. Religion, prophecy, and spirituality. Religion permeates the play, from Mormonism to Judaism to angelic revelations. Prior's designation as a prophet turns the play into a modern spiritual epic. Yet Kushner subverts religious dogma. Angels are flawed, heaven is in disrepair, and God has gone AWOL. The play suggests that divine answers are elusive, and that human connection and love offer the truest form of grace. 4. Politics and power. Set during the Reagan era, Angels in America critiques neoconservatism, homophobia, and institutional neglect of AIDS victims. Roy Cohn, a real figure from American history, embodies the corruption of power. Joe and Louis's relationship becomes a microcosm of ideological conflict, where love is tested by opposing worldviews. 5. Change, progress, and stasis. The play wrestles with the tension between holding on and moving forward. The angel demands stasis, but Pryor rejects it, choosing evolution and struggle. Characters are constantly in motion, fleeing, returning, transforming. Kushner celebrates the messy, painful process of progress, insisting that hope lies in movement, not preservation. Style and structure. Kushner's style blends naturalism with magical realism. Ghosts, angels, and hallucinations coexist with courtroom hearings and hospital rooms. He uses split scenes, overlapping dialogue, and fluid time to create a theatrical mosaic. The play is deeply literary, filled with allusions to politics, philosophy, and history, yet grounded in emotional intimacy. Its humor, poetry, and ambition give it a mythic quality, even as it remains intensely personal. The structure, 2 parts totaling 7 hours, allows for deep character development and thematic layering. The epic scope affirms that the struggles of queer communities, though specific, are universal and historically significant. Symbolism. 1. The angel. The angel symbolizes divine authority, tradition, and stasis. Her demand that Pryor stop change reflects a fear of chaos. Yet Pryor's refusal suggests that progress and survival depend on embracing uncertainty and flux. 2. Bethesda Fountain. In the final scene, the fountain becomes a symbol of healing, community, and endurance. Based on a biblical reference to a healing pool, it becomes the setting for Pryor's hopeful vision of the future. 3. Antarctica. Harper's vision of Antarctica represents isolation and clarity. It is a place where illusions freeze and truths emerge. For Harper, it becomes a metaphor for liberation and the courage to leave a broken life behind. Historical and cultural context. Angels in America premiered in the early 1990s, but it is set in the height of the AIDS epidemic, when thousands of LGBTQ+ individuals were dying and facing neglect from the government and society. The play critiques the Reagan administration's inaction, the silence around queer suffering, and the betrayal by conservative gay men like Roy Cohn. Kushner wrote at a time when activism, e.g., ACT UP, was rising, and angels helped shift public consciousness. The play gave voice to a marginalized community and became a cultural touchstone for queer history, resistance, and resilience. Conclusion. Tony Kushner's Angels in America is a monumental achievement in modern theater, a work of political urgency, emotional depth, and spiritual inquiry. It captures a moment of collective trauma and transformation, dramatizing the AIDS crisis not just as a health epidemic but as a moral and philosophical reckoning. Through richly drawn characters, lyrical language, and visionary storytelling, the play insists on the dignity of queer lives, the necessity of change, and the enduring power of human connection. In Pryor Walter's final words, spoken directly to us, the audience, the play leaves us with a charge and a blessing. The great work begins.